Welcome to Top to Bottom Male Romance Podcast, where we celebrate all things male romance. I am Jessica.
And I'm Markie.
And this is our August Bottom episode.
Yep, before we get into all the fun stuff we want to talk about, we do have to remind you we do have reader groups. We have one on Goodreads and one on Facebook. You can jump in at any time and talk to us about our bottom picks, any cool book series that you'd recommend, comic book series you got into, Netflix series that looks neat, anything that has to do with male romance or general silliness, you can jump in at any time and talk to us about it. We also have a Patreon. Our patrons get inside information about upcoming interviews that we have and have a chance to submit questions for that interview person. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, make sure you do so.
And if you haven't done so, make sure you go and rate us on whatever it is you listen to us on. It helps other people find us too.
Real quick, before we get into all of our fun stuff, I wanted to talk about how super cool this is. Jeff and Will of the Big Gay Fiction Podcast started a Big Gay Author podcast recently, and I am super into it. Like, it's an entire podcast series that's dedicated just for gay fiction, or maybe not even just fiction, but just like romance or LGBTQ authors. And the info so far has been really cool. They've gotten some really amazing guests on their show so far. I have binged through, I want to say all but 2 episodes, because I'm a little behind because we were listening to an audiobook for this month. But I've been trying to get in their episodes as they release on Saturday. But it's been fantastic. They had Joanne Penn on. I think that was I didn't go in order because I'm an asshole. So I jumped onto that one first and listened to it. And it was basically talking about like turning your author mindset into like being a pro author instead of just like, I'm just writing for funsies author. And like, it was one of those things I was listening to in my car and was just like, hell yeah, man. Like, I'm fucking in this now. Like, it was like she had great information and insight, and just the way she broke things down of like basically telling you what you needed to hear to validate your mindset on things, where she is basically like, hey, nobody owes you a living doing this. So if you want to make a living wage being an author, you need to start thinking like this is a job. Don't sleep in that extra hour in the mornings, get up and write, like fucking do your due diligence and like bust your ass. And I was like, yeah, that's me. I'm going to do that. So yeah, if anybody out there who listens isn't just a fan of the genre and also just dabbles in writing, I highly recommend that podcast, because like I said, not just great info, but like it's fun. Their guests are really cool, and it's Will and Jeff, so it's going to be charming and witty and fun. So I just had to plug the shit out of that before we started.
Yeah, I'm really glad that they're doing this too, and I've been listening to it as well, and it's really, really valuable. And I would even say not even just, LGBT authors, just, indie authors, or even just authors in general. It's really, really great information. And I'm super glad they're doing this, because you and I have talked about, can we talk about the craft side of writing and whatever? But no, this is a reader-based podcast, and it doesn't fit in with what we do. And in my head, I'm halfway thinking, well, maybe we should do something like that. And we don't have the time to do that. And we aren't near as good as Will and Jeff. So
yeah, that's the other thing too, is like we really want to do this stuff, but then they did it. I was like, oh thank God.
Yeah, seriously,
I want them to do it for sure.
Yeah, they have a really, really great setup for that, and I am super here for it as well. I think it's really great whether you're published already or just starting out, because me and Markie are both 2 sides of that coin. She's published already. I am slow, and but it's really, really great, and we super recommend it. I know that a lot of readers get inspired to the point of, I want to do this myself, and that's a really great place to kind of listen and see if that world sounds like something that you'd be into.
Yeah, I think on the episode I was listening to with Joanne, she was talking about how you learn really, really fast, and we're not going to stick to too much on this because, like Jess said, this is a reader podcast, so I swear I'm almost done. She talked about how when you publish your first book, especially being an indie publisher or an indie author or whatever, you get a taste for what it's like doing that. Because like writing is the easy part, like at least for me, like writing, like it has its moments where you're like, oh shit, this is a dumpster fire, or I've written myself into a corner, or I don't know what to do with this person, and that kind of stuff. But like you're writing because you want to write, like that's your thing. So you craft this thing and you're so hyped and so excited about it. And then nobody tells you how hard it is after that to do your marketing and promotion, and how does sales work, and do I go wide or do I not go wide? And like after the super stress of getting that first book out and going through the circus that is being an indie author, you either are like, yeah, fuck that, or you're like, okay, I want to do that 80 more times. Like it's just I don't feel like there's an in between. It's either one of those things that you super love it, or you're just like, you know what? Like, that's a headache. I'm just going to keep this as a hobby, which is also 100% valid because the shit's nuts. Yeah.
Well, that went on way longer than we meant that to.
I'm super sorry. And we talked about this before we started. We were just like, don't get too worried about things. And I'm like, I'm going to try really hard not to. But anyway, should we talk about stuff we watched and listened to?
Yeah, so for our side banana this month, we watched This Boy is a Professional Wizard, and it's a completely self-contained little 30-minute anime that you can get on either Crunchyroll or Amazon, and it's really cute and really pretty. You know, it's only 30 minutes, so you've got a really quick short story of a love story, and I kind of feel like it was... You know, it's a pretty formulaic story, but I like it's basically, you know, this guy who is he is a professional wizard, right? So he is very, very, very into his job, and he ends up finding somebody that falls for him, and he falls for him back, and then stuff happens with his job, and he freaks out about it, and then his love person, what's it called? Love interest.
Love person. I love it. You know, it keeps it gender neutral, and I appreciate that.
You know, it's just been, love interest is gender neutral as well. It's been a really rough week for us outside of podcast land, so I apologize. But yeah, his love interest, you know, has to convince him that he loves him for him, and it's super sweet and really cute and very pretty. It was very, very pretty anime.
Yeah, I was going to say that was probably my favorite part of it. Like, the character's really cute, but like you said, it's a very formulaic plot line. So it's not going to toss a lot of twists and turns at you by any means. But since it is a little bite-sized anime, 30 minutes, they have to kind of condense a lot into a very small amount of time. The art style is really pretty. I really like their use of text, and the drinks were pretty. Like, it opens up with them in a bar and their drinks look like they're galaxies. Like, it's really stylized. The wizard's magic system is very, very Japanese. Like, it has like a use of fans, and when he goes into like his magicness, he gets the what's the Japanese theater?
Kabuki?
Yeah, kabuki. He gets like the kabuki red around his eyes. Like, it's really pretty. It's like you said, why I wanted to come back to it, because I remember being really pretty, and I remember the romance being very sweet, and like the love interest isn't pushy, and he's really like open with his emotions, and at the very end when they're both in tears, and I was just like, oh, it's so schmoopy. Like, it's so sweet. I liked it. So I'm glad we picked it.
First, I'm going to say that writing short stories are one of the hardest forms of narrative to actually pull off. And, you know, this did it. It had a beginning, middle, and end. It had an actual cohesive story. But what's more impressive to me is that they actually did a really good job of establishing some world building.
Yeah.
Which within 30 minutes, if you want to show me a love story and like a subplot of the work problem, and then actually show me world building, I was color me impressed.
yeah, it's not bad. I mean, you understood that like the wizards are professional, where they respond to crisis, and like it really leans heavily on like his magic being tied to water, because every time he spoke, like water came out of it, like bubbles and stuff. Like they did a lot with it. It was really cool.
Yep. So unless you have more to say on this, I'm going to use that as a transition.
Nah, segue, man.
Awesome. Our bottom pick for the month is Circle of Darkness from Nicholas Bella and Aimee Nicole Walker, and it is fantasy based. It's got a fantasy world, which, you know, if you've listened to us more than, you know, twice, you know that I'm big into fantasy, and that's always because of the world building. The world building in fantasy just really kind of, it's its own character in a lot of times, and they did that really well in this book too.
I guess before we get too far into it, we're probably going to spoil the shit out of this. So,
oh yeah, I'm actually
warning.
probably gonna actually talk about the end. So,
so if you don't want to be spoiled, do not listen to this point, because we're about to spoil it.
Yeah, I will say though, before we do start to spoil it, if you do want a pretty enriching urban fantasy environment in which to have a love story, you've got great characters and a great environment and really cool lore working in this one. So if you do want to get into it with no spoilers, I super recommend it. But if you don't want spoilers, go away.
Yes. Man, I don't even know where to start on this. I guess, do you want to start with the world building, because it was so fucking good? in a nutshell of what the book was about, like a brief paintbrush, it's about a world of vampires and demons and werewolves and stuff. So very urban fantasy based. The main character is a hunter who's been trained from this really badass school where they take kids that are like gifted in like a bloodline type of situation where they can tell if they've got like an innate ability for this type of work. Then they train them to be like super badasses and then, unleash them into the world to like take out baddies. D'Angelo's one of the main characters, him and his partner, not love interest partner, best buddies, Christian. Him and Christian get kicked out for being gay. So they start their own badass team where they're fighting the good fight, but without all the cool resources of their school. And D'Angelo runs into Angel, who he calls Ansel through most of the book. So I have a feeling we're going to be calling this guy Ansel, who is a psychic. He can see shit like in the future, and it's this whole thing. So stuff happens, and a demon gets out. And so they've got to track down this demon motherfucker who's got a relic, who's stealing souls, and it's super fun. Like, I really liked what they did with the demon lore and like how they didn't explain exactly how everything works, but they're really good about explaining like why the relic needed a certain amount of souls and how it tied into the different like tiers of demons, and how like a level 3 is not a big deal, but like if a demigod shows up, then shit, like it left me excited to see what kind of cool shit's gonna crawl out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they did a really exceptionally good job with the world building in that note, where they give you enough setup to give you a really thorough picture of the world, but to also leave you with a lot of questions, which is absolutely essential for any kind of a fantasy-based thing. You want to know, like, it's a world of wonder, right? You want to know what's there. And aside from the fucking fantastic characters, which it has, and the really interesting plot lines and stuff, which it has, aside from that, though, like, I want to see more of this world. I want to know what more it's capable of, and what else we're going to see with it. So as a fan of fantasy, I thought that was really, really well done.
Yeah, they did a really, really fun job. And like within the world, they've got some super fantastic characters. Like we talked to, I don't know if we even said this yet, but we have an interview with Aimee that we'll get to in a little bit. And we actually kind of dive into how rich the characters are in the story. So I won't hang on that too long because we talked to her about it. But the characters, both human and not, are so fantastically fleshed out. And like, they're funny and they're charming, or they're assholes and you still love them somehow. And it's like they did a really great job crafting this really kick-ass world building with really, really fun characters. Like even Stefan, who in all accounts should be like a side character that doesn't matter. Like, I want his story. Like, he's Lorcan is a badass vampire who in my head is Antonio Banderas from Interview with the Vampire, because how can it fucking not be? But he's basically his keeper during the day, and he's like this fop who I was like, oh, he's just gonna be some like prissy dude. And then like when shit goes sideways, he's out there like kicking ass, like he's fighting demon stuff, and like not being like, why? Well, he's whining about his clothes getting messed up, but he's a for real threat to these demons and stuff. And I was like, yes, like make the fop a cool kick-ass character. I love it.
Yeah, I actually want to talk pretty hard about side characters here. I do want to say, first of all, Lorcan, if I had to pick a favorite, Lorcan was my favorite.
Yep.
And so I actually squealed a little bit because I was ignoring the existence of the second book. I was trying to not look at a summary because I didn't want any spoilers, right? So like I was almost towards the end of this one, and I was like, okay, I'm going to peek because there's no way they can screw it up now. And as far as like a spoiler. So I peeked and saw that it was Lorcan and Christian, who hates vampires.
Yeah.
I actually squealed seeing that. So I was really, really excited about that. But aside from him,
Enemies to Lovers is my fucking favorite. So get like super badass Lorcan motherfucker and Christian, who's like, my whole family was killed by vampires. I'm like, I need to know how they fall in love, because they clearly do.
Well, I mean, they kind of talk about how it's like a fated pair thing for the hunters, right? So they are meant for each other. So they're probably going to feel this draw to each other and like hate it. Right? So I'm looking forward to that. I'm definitely going to dive in. But aside from Lorcan, the beautiful, wonderful, awesome vampire who is an asshole, and I love him. Yes, Stefan, fucking loved him. He was grand and amazing. And then Jinx and Vixen were my other super, super favorite standouts. Really, really great. So I have this really bad habit of just falling in love with side characters. I mean, nothing against D'Angelo and Ansel. They were great. And that was, a fun story and everything. But like, I really like that is, again, it's something that's like propelling me into wanting to read more of the series so I can see more of these other characters as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I don't know how I forgot about the fated mate thing. But now I'm even more excited because you're right. They're going to be drawn to each other. Like they have to be near each other because of that whole shit. And like, just like, how does it work with vampires?
I don't know. Okay, so Ansel was, he's not a hunter, right?
He's not. He's just some asshole, like with psychic visions. Like, he's not a vampire. Like, what? Damn it! Oh. Yeah, I'm gonna have to download that. I'm gonna have to start it. We got other books we gotta read. Damn it!
I know. I have way too much stuff to read and listen to, and we so frequently don't get to get further into series because of that. But
fucking, we'll just bleed this into September. September is the next book, and you guys can just deal with it. Oh God.
No, we won't. Do other things.
But we could. No.
You've never let me do that before. We're not starting
I know.
But yeah, super fun, urban fantasy. Very much looking forward to seeing what is in store next. We had a really awesome time talking to Aimee Nicole Walker about the series and a few other things, and her writing partnership with Nicholas Bella, and that was a super blast.
Yeah, I was going to say she shares a really, really awesome story, like kind of right at the get-go of the interview. So I'm really touched that she shared that with us, because it's really cool. So you guys will get to be able to hear it. But yeah, she's sweet and fun, and she's a blast. We're really excited because she's going to be at GRL this year too, so we get to properly fangirl around her.
Indeed. So do you have anything else you want to talk about before we launch into the...
I could just keep talking about this book, so we're going to not do that so people can listen to the amazing Aimee. And we talk a ton about the book during the interview as well, so we'll let people enjoy.
Awesome. Well, then without further ado, here's our interview with Aimee Nicole Walker.
So we have with us the co-author of our bottom pick for the month, Circle of Darkness, Aimee Nicole Walker. Aimee is a wife and a mother of 3 kids, 4 dogs, and a cat. When she's not dreaming up stories, she likes to lose herself in a good book, cooking, or baking. She considers herself a girly tomboy who paints her fingernails while watching sports and yelling at the referees. Welcome, Aimee.
Hi.
I'm so glad you're able to join us. Me and Jess have been having a blast with this book, so we're going to be asking you all kinds of fun stuff.
That's great. I'm excited to be here, and I'm super excited that you are loving the series, because Nicholas and I have had so much fun writing it. I mean, it's a lot of hard work. It's totally out of my wheelhouse, but I love it. So I'm so excited when we hear that other people love it too.
Awesome. Well, first and foremost, we ask all of our author interviews the same first question. What got you into MM romance?
Well, I was reading, I think this is the case for a lot of us. I was reading a Nicole Edwards book. I think it was the Walker Brothers. And I was just minding my own business, and there was a scene and there was some guy on guy action. And I was like, huh. And my initial reaction was, that's hot. I'm not going to lie. And then I started seeking out gay romance. And then I got just totally lost in the romance aspect of it, and the emotional aspect, and the challenges that they face. And so I'd already at this time had a couple straight romances written and saved on my computer, and they will never see the light of day. Because once you find gay romance, you don't go back. I mean, you just don't. It's just... It just catches you, consumes you, and there's just nothing else after that.
Excellent.
That's really well put. That very much seems to be the case. Anybody who jumps into it, just dips a toe in, we have you forever.
Yeah, even if it was an accident. And I was like, it's the best accident that ever happened to me. I mean, I love it. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So you're writing the Genesis Circle with Nicholas Bella. What made you guys decide to write together, and what is your co-writing process like?
Okay, so I love telling this story because, Nicholas is my person. I think people are put in this world, they come to you at your greatest need, your darkest hour. I went public when I got my breast cancer diagnosis, which was really hard to do because I'm super private. But I just felt like I needed to go out and say, hey, this is my reality, because I didn't know how it would impact my writing. And, I'd already gone on public talking about, which I learned never to do again, broadcasted my annual schedule release, and I didn't know how it would impact it. And so basically I just kind of went out there, showed a picture of my butterfly tattoo, my breast cancer butterfly tattoo. This is my reality. And the outpouring of love was amazing. So I won't ever regret sharing this part of my life. And from that developed the best friendship a person could ever ask for, because Nicholas had gone through many cancer battles with mom. And so he reached out to me and said, this is the experience that I've had. And from that just came like daily conversations like you'd have with a friend. And then we bonded over television shows that I'd never watched that he recommended, like the original supernatural. So he really got my mind thinking about paranormal and supernatural things. And where in the past, I really had never given a whole lot of attention to it beyond Twilight. So, which if you know Nicholas is, whoa, that's not vampires. This is vampires. But anyway, so it became a daily friendship and, at a really deep level. And so then one time, I think during like a takeover, some readers got to pick authors that they thought would be great writing together. And they picked us, and her name is Carly. And she said the Queen of Romance, which was me, and the King of Kink would be a great combination. And we're like, really? What the heck do I know about paranormal? And Nicholas doesn't really write romance. But so we just started joking about it one day. And then it developed into a plot for Undisputed, which is our MMA romance. So our first writing collaboration was that. And then Undisputed. And then after that, I said, you know what? I really would like to do something different. And Nicholas is like, what are you thinking? And I'm like, I think I really want to do a paranormal series, romance. And then it just developed from that. And I mean, that was like music to Nicholas's ears, right? That's Nicholas's wheelhouse. So we come at it from very different approaches, but we work so well together because our ethics are the same. There's this really deep level of trust and connection. We know we have each other's back, and there's you check your ego at the door. There is no ego in a collaboration. So it just works out really well for us.
That's amazing. That's a hell of a good story.
Yeah, I know. Now I can take a breath, right?
But just a quick one. We have so much more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and when y'all do write together, do you each have certain characters that you do, or do you swap off chapters?
We do. We choose the characters. In the first book, Circle of Darkness, that you guys have finished, I took Angel the Psychic, because, it was a little easier for me, I thought. I took the Psychic, and Nicholas took the Hunter. So then when we got to Circle of Trust, obviously everyone expected Nicholas to take the vampire, and I was okay with that. And so I took the Hunter. So in the third book, Circle of Madness, I was like, nah, I have to step this up. So I took the supernatural being, and I think I've done really good at it. I've tapped into a lot, and a lot of what I've watched, experienced, what I've learned from working with Nicholas, and I am damn proud of my character in that book. Yeah, I am.
That's exciting.
That's very exciting.
Yeah. But we alternate chapters, like you mentioned. So we take a character. We have a loose plot. We don't plot chapter by chapter. And we like to, this is probably not the healthiest thing, but we really like to surprise the other. So you never know what you're going to get. So the beginning of the book is kind of loose. We know what the storyline is. We know what their character storyline is. And we just kind of build it together. We play off each other, which is super fun. But if there's a situation where I know what I need to start with, or what I see in my head starting my next chapter, I do communicate that to Nicholas and vice versa. And that way, he can get me there, or I can get him there. And it all works out. Toward the end, I'm the kind of writer who needs to be able to see the end. So I'm good for pantsing it for about 75%. But then I hit that, and I really need a little bit of definition, rein this in, bring it home. And so when we went to Vegas for his 40th birthday party, well, it's just the two of us at a party, but it was the best time ever. So we went to Vegas for the celebration. I was like, okay, let's talk out some of this, which really helps me get in my mindset so I can steer the ship home.
That's awesome. So you don't usually write paranormal, you didn't until now. And fantasy type stuff, any urban fantasy, paranormal, whatever, that's my favorite of everything. And it's usually because of the world building, and that really kind of rang true here. The Genesis Circle has really awesome world building, really cool rules and lore. How did you guys come up with that?
Well, we started off with discussing the core group, Genesis Circle, the Hunters, and how they came about, how they were, they were kicked out of, school and the organization because of being gay. Then we just kind of built the world around that. And the cool thing is, my thing, and if anyone reads any of my books, they know that my people have a chosen family. That's really important to me. It's something that I spell in all of my books. And so I really wanted that to come through in the Genesis Circle series. So for example of something that I throw at Nicholas unexpectedly. We're just typing along, and all of a sudden, Angel has this friend, Maggie. And next thing we know, Maggie's moving in. He's just like, whoa, what's going on here? And so now we have, and it's important for me to have the kick-ass female characters in a variety of ways. So, we had Jinx and we had Vixen. So we knew we had those two. The next thing I know, I'm moving Maggie in there, and this goes with it, So, and we love her, and she's critical to the team now. And in each book, she becomes more and more important. And this is just an example of how we kind of toss things in, and an example of our world building. So there's no doubt that Nicholas is the stronger of the two when it comes to building the paranormal world within our world, I guess you would say. And then I focus a lot on the relationships and make them feel as real as possible. Because to me, even if a book is a fantasy or sci-fi, and it could be, 1,000 years from now, there needs to be a level of realism to me. So if something is, paranormal, I mean, obviously, I'm not sure vampires, werewolves, and whatnot exist, but so that's my whole thinking. Because I'm that literal thinker, those things don't exist. So I need them to feel real to me so that I can believe it. And so that's how we approach it.
Nice.
That's a good balance for sure.
It's a great balance.
Yeah, and the relationships that the characters have are amazing. As soon as Jinx and Vixen popped onto the screen, if you will, or on page or whatever, because I was listening to it, so it's through my ears, I immediately fell in love with them. Each character you encounter in this series has such a fantastic personality. You can't help but love them. It's just, they're all so wonderful.
Thank you very much. I mean, we feel that way. So it's lovely to hear other people say that as well. I mean, they feel so real to us. I feel like I need to suit up and go fight demons. That, and for me, this literal minded person, that is a huge deal. And so I hope that comes across the reader that way too, that they can get lost in that fantasy of it's all boils down to a battle of good and evil, right? I mean, you mentioned that in one of the upcoming questions, that there's a lot of that, but it basically boils down to good versus evil, and your heroes and your heroines change,
So kind of going into the direction we were about to go in anyway,
Mm-hmm.
the series ties heavily with heaven, hell, and demons and angels. So I have to ask, do we ever get to meet an angel?
So this is one of the questions where I don't want to give out spoilers, but I didn't want to ignore completely. So we do have an eye on a storyline that we want to develop that would probably be separate from Genesis Circle, but it could possibly maybe involve a fallen angel and a demon. So that would be very interesting, and that is something that we would really love to do after we complete the series.
That's very exciting, because in the series they were talking about how hard it was to even summon an angel because they're kind of jerks, and you have to go through all these hoops for one to even bother acknowledging your existence. So I was yeah, I want one.
Yeah. And so that is an example of where Nicholas has to tell me this, and for me to grasp this concept and the way you can summon angels and the various things, and also put it in writing so I can refer back to it, because that's just, it's I don't want to mess it up. And it's not like on a rough draft, that's your phone only draft, you get to go back and fix things. And that's what we do. We go through and we read each other's chapters before we write our own. We make notes and we make comments, and we leave those there, and we go back through it again from the very beginning. And by the time we're done, we get a really tight story that contains all those elements that's the best that both of us have that bring into the collaboration.
That's excellent. So another burning question I had as I was listening to this story, can hunters get turned into monsters?
Okay, so I don't want to give you a spoiler. You will find that answer in the next book. Circle of Trust, that is answered in the next book. So I will answer it for you, yes or no, if you want me to, or you can listen to the audio book and find that answer for yourself. But that actually will come into play in books 2 and 4, I believe. So
Nice.
Okay. Well then, no, don't tell me.
Okay.
That actually follows right into my next question, which is how many books do y'all have planned for this series?
Okay, so we have at least 5 planned. Okay, so we have at least 5 planned. But we are of the mind that if other characters are speaking to us, we will write that. When it comes to, say, an angel or demon series, that's not connected to the Genesis Circle, that immediate group, which continues to grow. We're like, where'd this guy come from? Where'd she come from? Continues. I'm like, I bring home all these cats and dogs. It's the same thing in these books. It's like, oh, by the way, here's a new character for us to love. That's just how we are. So we do have a general idea of where this series goes, how we can tie that last book into the first book. And then from there, we'll see if there's more that develops, or maybe another series, that could be read completely separate. But yeah, so I have told him I love the whole idea of writing an angel book, but it needs to be something really spectacular. So the concept for us of a fallen angel and a demon, of all things, to fall in love, that to us just seems like awesome. Mm-hmm. But we need the characters to come along. I mean, I think we know, but it's one of those things that has to happen organically and you can't force. So
that's really cool. And the world is so rich. It seems like there is so much room for doing so many things, and you have so many really great characters that could very easily pull out their own stories. So yeah. I can see how that's very, very ripe for opportunity.
Right. I agree. And thank you for saying so.
Yeah, we love it. So kind of pivoting, because we always want to know, because usually our authors are also voracious readers as well when they have the time. What are you currently reading?
So I've had the best reading week ever. So I would just love to shout out how much I love Haley Turner and her gifted, beautiful mind. That I had an advance copy of her Soulbound 3 book, and it's just out of this world amazing. And I'm just like, wow. I mean, I just blew me away. Then I read Nikki James' Long Way Home, which is beautiful, and just have Kleenex because she just guts you like a fish. But then she makes you happy again at the end, but she's so mean. And then I started Gregory Ash, who is my favorite author. Like, I cannot wait for GRL. He'll probably get some stalker, some kind of, protection order, but he says not. But, I don't know. But Gregory Ash is my favorite. So I'm reading The Triangulation, the second story in this Borealis series. So I just finished listening to book 6 of the Hazard and Somerset series, which is like my favorite series of all time, is his Hazard and Somerset. So I read the books, and then I listened to the books. Now I need the paperbacks on my shelf. It's one of those things. So that's what I'm reading, to have the best week ever.
That is a lot of awesome in one week. That's fantastic.
It is.
I'm going to have a side question to that, actually. How the hell do you have time to read that much when you put out as many books as you do?
Okay. So this week has not been the most productive writing week. I will confess to that. So, for example, we had a really bad thunderstorm come through the other night, and I think I went to bed about 12:30, and that thing rolled in just before 3 a.m., and one of my dogs is just so afraid of storms. So it's kind of a get up with her, go down to the basement because that's the only place she's happy. And if I'm going to be up, I'm going to do something. And so I started reading Nikki's book. And next thing I know, it's 5 or 6 o'clock. And I was like, holy, whoops, it's not much sleep that day. So that's kind of how it is. Haley's book, I started last week on vacation, and I finished it and then went right into Nikki's book. And then, unfortunately with Greg, now my brain is working and I'm starting to fire up. So, the Triangulation book, Gregory's book, is probably going to take me a while to read that. So it just depends on what's going on. But I always have an audiobook playing kind of in the quiet moments, like if I'm trying to wind down and do something to wind down in the day. So I have an audiobook playing at least a little bit, or a podcast. One of those two things. Those are my ways of winding down, to listen to a story or be traumatized by some true crime podcast. It's like, what was that noise? That's how, I'm not sure how relaxing that is, but that is my choice that I use. But yeah, so that's how I just kind of little moments here and there. I read every single day, but some days it's more than others.
Excellent.
So you mentioned GRL. Are you going to be there, and where can people find you if you are?
I am going. It's my second year, my second signing. I'm excited, and I'm also nervous because it's a lot of awesomeness there. It's just a lot of awesomeness. So I am super excited because I'm doing my very first storyteller panel with Victoria Sue and Layla Rain.
Oh,
and
cool.
Yes, I'm so excited. And we are planning a really fun, interactive time with the attendees. And our theme, I guess you would call it. It's called A View to a Thrill, and it's about 3 romantic suspense writers, describing how we find a balance between the pulse-thumping action and romance. So finding a balance between those is really critical. So we're going to have a lot of fun during our storyteller panel. I do know the time. I didn't write it down. And then I have the 2 author lounges. And so I do post that stuff. I do post it all the times where people can find me on social media. I'll probably send it out in a newsletter this year, act all, official. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
That panel sounds amazing. Me and Jess both are going this year, and one of my favorite things to do at GRL is catch all the panels, and like the storytelling stuff is always a blast. So we'll have to make sure to chase you down and be a part of that.
We have to work out the details. It's funny because all 3 of us are doing a feature on diverse reader, and we can't wait to tell people about our storyteller panel because I think it's a little bit different. I mean, you're not just going to come in there and sit down and listen to us talk. We're going to actually interact with the audience. They're going to help us tell a story so they can see how hard sometimes it can be. Do you choose action, detective, investigative stuff in this particular moment, or do you go with the romance? So it'll be a fun, super fun thing. Should be a lot of laughs. And I told Layla Rain, I'm like, there will be parts that I can't do because I will giggle too hard. I will spend 45 minutes giggling and no one will learn anything. So we got to divvy up what I do and what she and Sue do. But it sounds like we're going to have a really good time. It's really hard finding something that's unique that hasn't been done before. I think this is something that's never been done before. So I'm excited about it. Yeah.
That's very cool. That's just a great combo of authors. Like I'm very excited about that panel.
No, I am too. And that's actually awesome from somebody who that's a good writer inspiration thing too. I was hoping to find some of that. So that's awesome. But if people want to find you online or join your newsletter so they can stay caught up, where can they find you?
Okay. So I did not include any links or anything. I wasn't very smart about that. I'm on Facebook.
We'll find them for you. Okay. It's fine.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I have a Facebook group. It's Amy's Diehards. It's a lot of fun. Authors come in and do giveaways. I have daily chats. That's where I'm giving out all the little details, the little nooks and crannies on my upcoming new romantic suspense series, and that I'm so excited for. So my readers group is where it's at. I do have a newsletter. I do. I just forgot to write down how you can find it. But whoopsie. But yeah, I do and I have a blog. It's Aimee Nicole Walker blogspot.com, and you can sign up for updates there too, just like the newsletter. So whatever I put in a newsletter goes on my blog, and you can actually get those emailed to you. Sign up for emails for those too. It's just like a newsletter. So
perfect. Yeah, I'll hunt all those down and put them in the show notes so people can dive in and find them that way.
Awesome.
Well, thank you again for taking the time to chat with us. Like I had mentioned at the beginning, me and Jess are having a blast with this book. I am right at the tail end of like the final battle, so I'm like, can't wait to to wrap it up. And I think Jess has been done for like a week, so she's like, "Are you done yet? Are you done yet? Are you done yet?"
We haven't been able to talk about it. It's driving me insane.
Yeah, and I have to say that book 2 is even better. I mean, it's just. I mean, you got the enemies to lovers thing, and I mean, there's just nothing better than that. When you're mated, your bond mate's your enemy. I mean, that just come on now. That's just awesome. Right.
I literally squealed when I saw that Lorcan was the next book. Yeah. I was so excited because he's like, I love all the characters, but I loved him the most, I think. Yeah. So I'm very, very excited for that. I know.
And then we introduced a warlock in that book, Silas, who I just love. Like anytime Silas is on the page, I'm just like so happy. And I mean, that's just, when you grin and you're typing and grinning at the same time, or you're laughing out loud at whatever you're typing or reading from your partner, that is just an amazing experience. So yeah, definitely. Yeah. But thanks for having me.
Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah, it was a great time, and we appreciate the opportunity to talk about the work that we love so much. And it's been fun.
All right. Well, thank you again, Amee.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Amee, for taking the afternoon to talk to us. It was a blast. We cannot wait to get to meet you at GRL this year.
Absolutely. So is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up and move on to next month?
Nope. I think that is everything.
Awesome. Well, then I guess we will catch you guys next week.
Yeah. Until then.
Bye.